You know what the most productive task is, it's time to figure out how many hours of sleep you need. Oops, scratch that. Not how many hours, but how many sleep cycles. And what you need to do is change your paradigm from thinking about how many hours, do I need 6 hours of sleep? Do I need 9 hours of sleep? Do I need 5.5 hours of sleep? And transition and move to how many sleep cycles you need. And it's been scientifically proven, multiple scientific papers. I've been using this technique for years, and it is the most important thing that's increased my energy. So if you have issues with energy and making it last throughout the day, this is the best thing. This will totally change everything for you. I've taught it to 100 guys and have the feedback from them that it works, as well as thousands of guys on the internet as well. And what you need to look at is saying that a sleep cycle, it's 90 minutes long. The first 30 minutes of a sleep cycle is the light sleep, where you're not dreaming and you're just kind of bouncing around in your bed, stuff like that, but you're still sleeping and it's still good for recovery. But the real recovery period is when you fall into that deep sleep, that REM sleep. That's where you dream and everything like that. And if you ever have issues where sometimes you wake up, you feel completely energized, you're ready to go. And other times you wake up and you're actually more tired than before you went to bed, it's because you woke up in the middle of one of those REM sleep cycles. And as a side tangent, this is why naps are so capricious, because you're not strategizing properly of knowing the right time to wake up. What you need to do is you want to wake up within that light phase, so setting a nap for 30 minutes. For me, I do 40 minutes because it takes me about 5 to 10 minutes to fall asleep, and then I can get a full 30-minute little sleep cycle there without falling into the deep sleep. Or if I am really tired and want to do something longer and I have the time to do something longer, I'll do 100 minutes to where 10 minutes to fall asleep and do an entire sleep cycle, full 90-minute sleep cycle there. And then when you wake up, you're going to be much more energized and you're not going to have that concern before you go to sleep of saying, I don't know if I'm going to wake up from this nap better or worse than before. And again, set an alarm. Don't use the snooze button as well, because the snooze button, then you're messing everything up. And we'll talk more about that in a second here. One other little thing is that there's an iPhone app called the Sleep Cycle app. It's like an orange little app. And what you can do, you put that on your bed and it feels when you're in that light sleep, and it kind of tracks it in a cool little way. And it makes sure, it sets it up so that it wakes you up within one of the light phases of sleep instead of the deep phase. So that's a cool little thing to try out. But now, for the nighttime ritual aspect of the morning routine and everything else, let's do a little math. So I want to give a couple examples here of how you can do this. And like I said, as I'm walking through this, if you have to pause the video and do this for yourself, go ahead and do it. So think about your morning routine. Think about the time that you need to be, let's say, at work, or you have your first meeting. For me, I usually have my first meetings at 11 a.m. to where I'm either doing a coaching call or I have a meeting with my staff. Maybe for you, let's say 9 a.m. Let's say you have to be at work at 9 a.m. I want you to allot an hour for your morning routine. And then, so let's say that's 8 a.m. there. And then you have to look at how many sleep cycles can you get. Let's say normally you go to bed about midnight. So that would be about 8 hours. But again, we're moving out of the hourly paradigm and into the cycle paradigm. So 8 hours, that means at most I could get 7.5 hours of sleep based on that's 5 sleep cycles there, I think. And so boom, look at that already. You just gained an extra half an hour time of productive stuff you can do the night before. You can stay up half an hour later now, and I guarantee, like I said, don't think of, oh, but that 30 minutes is an extra 30 minutes I can sleep. The thing is, it doesn't matter. The waking up process is more about when you wake up within the sleep cycle, not about those extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes of sleep. And this is why the snooze button is so bad as well, because you're just thinking, oh, I could get 5 to 10 more minutes of sleep and I'm going to feel better, but all of a sudden you fall into a deep REM cycle again, and you actually end up even worse off when you wake up from the snooze as you did 9 minutes earlier. So focus on the sleep cycle. This is a huge, like I said, it's subtle, but that half an hour change is going to be huge for the amount of energy you have in setting your day off right. But look at now the second level of this for the math is the night before, or your night tonight here. I want to make sure that 2 hours before you go to sleep, you cut off any sort of stimulus. Most importantly, cutting off working. Don't do any work. Don't answer any emails 2 hours before you go to bed. Don't play any high stimulus video games or anything like that. Just wind down. For me, usually what I'll do is just take a glass of wine, sip on some wine, watch some bullshit TV like SportsCenter, or watch like a movie, not a too crazy movie or anything like that, or even better, read a fiction book and just really wind down for those last hour or two. And what happens then is your mind's not racing. And so if you ever have those issues where your mind's racing at night and you just can't fall asleep, it's because you didn't set up that last 2 hours as a buffer zone there to really wind down. So it's very important, 2 hours before to bed, cut all that stuff out. Also, if you need to do something like blue blockers or something like f.lux for your computer, because what happens, the other thing with modern technology is we have these intense blue lights, like the blue light here that I'm shining me in the face, that keeps you up. It keeps you awake because it stunts your melatonin, and your melatonin is a hormone that triggers something in your head saying, okay, it's time to fall asleep here. But the computer screen, that blue light, your iPhone, smartphone, it stunts that. And again, it also holds you from winding down there. So make sure to minimize your exposure to those blue lights and then just kind of wind down slowly. So a couple more examples. Like I said, again, let's start with tonight here. How much work do you have to do? How much other obligations do you have to do? Where you can cut it off 2 hours before you go to sleep. So that means if we're going to bed at 12:30 a.m., as I just talked about before, you need to be done doing anything by 10:30. If you can't, let's say you're like, okay, I have just too much to do. I have to work till 11, maybe 11:30 p.m. tonight. Then you got to wait and do another sleep cycle. So then don't go to bed till 2 a.m. Cut everything off at midnight. Then you can go to bed at 2 a.m., wake up at 7:30. Is that? Yeah, 7:30. And then you still get that, 2 sleep cycles would be 3 hours. 4 sleep cycles would be 6 hours. Actually, it'd probably be, let's say, you go to bed at 2 a.m., then you wake up at 8. Then you get the 4 sleep cycles in there. So you see how I'm playing with those chunks, those 90-minute chunks, and using that. And actually, like I said, in general, it usually gives you an extra half an hour here, an extra hour there, and you're going to be more predictable when you wake up in the morning. All right, so you've set everything up. You know how many sleep cycles you need to get. If you haven't, pause the video. Set this up for yourself tonight. We're starting this today for you. How many sleep cycles do you need? But once you do that, let's keep moving forward here. You're excited. You're going to get the right amount of sleep. Everything's good. You know what that most important task is going to be in the morning. And you're thinking, okay, cool, let's do this. You go to bed, you set your alarm. All of a sudden, you wake up in the morning. The alarm goes off. Whoa, and you're super groggy. It's cold, and you feel so comfy and warm in your covers there, and you're thinking, you know what, let me just add 9 more minutes here. 9 more minutes, I'm going to add a little bit more sleep. I'll wake up even more refreshed with an extra 9 minutes. And what this is you're making this decision from a very low consciousness headspace. That morning, sort of like you're groggy, your glucose levels are down, you're dehydrated. You need to trust your judgment from the night before when you're strategizing and in your high level consciousness there. And basically what I'm getting down to is never use the snooze button again. Cut that completely out of your life. No snooze, whether that be with your naps, but more importantly in the morning here, because the snooze, what it does, for whatever reason, as I said with the sleep cycles, all of a sudden you go and snooze, you go immediately back into a deep REM sleep cycle, and then you wake up 10 minutes later and you're more exhausted than you were before. So you got to just completely cut the snooze button out of your life. And what you're doing there from that low consciousness headspace is realize you're looking very short term. All you're thinking about is 9 minutes from now and getting that extra 9 minutes of sleep. You're not thinking long term. So what I want you to do here is crank up the pain a little bit, is quit thinking about 9 minutes. Think about the rest of your life. What is this little bit of willpower? What is this little bit of self-discipline to say, no, I don't hit the snooze button. I wake up, I'm going to do my routine, I'm going to build momentum, and go. I'm an action taker. Remember I talked about the self-image that you want to create for yourself of somebody that's a go-getter, taking action. This is the first step to prove to yourself of saying, I am that type of guy. Things are changing. If in the past, who cares about my past? Today, I'm not going to hit the snooze button and I'm going to take action. No matter how I feel, you really got to do this, because what you're going to start doing is the way the morning ritual is set up, it builds momentum. So no matter how groggy you are, all of a sudden within an hour, you're going to feel really good. And you'll see even the video that I did where I recorded myself, my assistant came over and I was completely out of it when it started. But by the end of it, all of a sudden I'm feeling good and ready to go. Time for a little pro tip. If you need a little extra kick to make sure that you get out of bed, that you don't hit the snooze button, put your phone with the alarm on the other side of the room. So you have to get out of bed to go turn off the alarm. And then usually what happens is you get out of bed and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm already up now. I might as well get up. So that's a great way if you need some kind of an extra little kick there to make sure you do what you got to do. And so this leads us into the morning ritual. And what I said before, this is a decision that you make. This is not about that gut instinct. We're moving out of 1-eye time here. 2-eye time is about getting some structure, getting some strategy, and getting some routine there. So when you wake up, you're thinking, oh, what do I want to do right now? We're cutting out that sort of headspace. We're not allowing our low consciousness thoughts there to dictate the decisions that we make. We're doing it from a high consciousness pre-strategy session and getting tactical and saying, okay, cool, what are we going to do here? And so it's a decision. Cut out that gut instinct. Every single day from now on, you're going to have this morning ritual. It's going to be sustainable and it's going to be fun. And so the interesting thing is most people have some sort of routine. That they do in the morning. But the difference between a routine and a ritual, this is like the New Zealand rugby team before they play the game. They're fucking stomping the feet and they're thinking, oh yeah, like the game is starting. They're getting that sort of, it's like that manly, sort of ritualistic thing to start off your day as a symbolic thing of saying, man, I'm a man who takes action. This is symbolic of me being that dude who's fucking kicking ass. And you build awesome momentum. And what it is, it's not very different than the things you're doing already. So you need to almost reframe the activities you do in the morning. Maybe you brush your teeth, maybe you eat a little breakfast, maybe you take a shower, and you're gonna do some of these exact same things, but they're gonna have a new perspective. They're gonna have a new meaning to you. Because what you wanna do is we're gonna, in a second here, I'll show you through tracking these things, you're gonna check these things off the list, and all of a sudden it's gonna build momentum, and that's what leads to all of a sudden you going into that first productive thing. And so what I'd like to do is walk you through my morning ritual. This is what I do every day. I've done this for probably 3 or 4 years now. And you can take this on wholeheartedly, take on every aspect of it. I'm also going to give you a couple examples of things that clients as well as successful entrepreneurs use that I don't, but that might work better for you. And feel free to take the things that work and, discard the ones that don't. But what I want is for you to have a ritual. Like I said, this is a ritual, symbolic thing to start off your day. And what's amazing is you check these things off the list, you get this little dopamine rush where you think, oh yeah, feels good. It feels good to check things off the list. It feels good to achieve things. And that's what gives you all of a sudden, you have this hormonal sort of enthusiasm and momentum that jet sets you into that most important thing. So getting into mine. The first thing that I do, well, I want to say too that these are all sustainable, easy to do. I want it to be the sort of things that I can do when I'm traveling on the road. They're cheap. There's no expensive things here. And they also have a little hidden benefit, which I'll show you in a second. First thing, when I wake up, I guess the first thing I do is brush my teeth before anything like that. I use the water pick there for the gums, use the electronic Oral-B or Sonicare toothbrush, Sonicare, whatever that is. Then, boom, go into having a lemon water. So I take an entire lemon, squeeze that entire lemon into a glass of water, kind of room temperature water for whatever reason is supposed to be best. It also has a lot of vitamin C. From a Tony Robbins standpoint, it's alkalizing, and I don't know if that actually is true or not, but it's supposed to help your immune system, but the vitamin C helps your immune system too. And you're the most dehydrated when you wake up because you haven't drank anything for 6 to 8 hours there, or 5 to 6 sleep cycles if we're switching to that paradigm. So it's good for that too. Hydrates you in the morning. Next thing for me, I'm trying to eat 5 to 6 meals a day because I'm trying to increase my calories to get a little bulk on, get a little bit bigger here. So I have a pretty big breakfast. Usually I'll have 3 to 4 scrambled eggs on top of that, or kind of switch it up. I used to do that every single day and it just became too much with butter there to kind of mix things up. Now I'll either do some toast with butter as well, or I'll do oatmeal with strawberries, and that's kind of gives me 2 or 3 different options, especially if I'm on the road. If one of those isn't available, pretty much anywhere you go, you can get scrambled eggs, whether it be a continental breakfast or at some sort of breakfast like Denny's or something like that. And usually those are at least somewhat healthy when you travel, and they're super easy to cook here. I just do scrambled eggs, like I said. While I'm doing that, the next one, check it off the list, is I'll listen to an audiobook. So because that whole squeezing the lemon water, breakfast, in a second here I'll talk about making my coffee, it's about 30 minutes. I get to check off the list reading for 30 minutes there. And because of these tasks, I've done them hundreds of times now, I don't really put any thought into them, so I can actually concentrate nicely on the audiobook as I'm doing this thing. And that one for me is great because one of the big things that I wasn't able to do was I kind of was never getting to the reading thing because I was trying to save it for the end of the day. Boom, by multitasking here, I get 2 things, slamming out 2 things at once. A couple other things is some friends that I know, highly successful guys, what they'll do is they'll listen to music at this time. So more for them, they're getting the drive on, they're getting that hustler instinct, like, yeah, fuck yeah, time to kick ass. So maybe you're listening to motivational music. I know some people that listen to TED Talks or motivational YouTube videos, stuff like that in the morning as they're doing this, which can be a good symbolic thing as well. For me, like I said, I like an audiobook because that's important for me. While I'm doing that as well with audiobook is I'm creating my bulletproof coffee. So usually I'll have the glass of lemon water as I'm eating the eggs, and I want to actually take my time here. I think it's important. Too often people, they get, they're in that urgency state and they're just, slam the eggs as fast as possible. I used to do this. Taking deep breaths, relaxing, enjoying your morning, enjoying the lemon water is just so refreshing there in the morning. And then when that's all done, that takes, like I said, 20, 30 minutes. Make a bulletproof coffee. So for me, I do it all by myself with the AeroPress. I do it all by hand, I guess is the better way. Grinding the beans up. I don't use the bulletproof beans because I think they're overpriced. But finding a good dark roast bean, it's got a little caffeine kick to it, some good flavor there. Push it with the AeroPress, add some grass-fed butter there, unsalted, and then boop, blend it up. Oh, MCT oil as well. I used to not do the MCT oil, but somebody's like, it's not truly a bulletproof coffee if you don't have the MCT oil. Do that, and again, I'm still listening to the audiobook, and then I turn the audiobook off, come here, I can see out the window right now, and I have my moment of clarity, my moment of zen, to where either I just sit there and just think deep thoughts, have a lot of gratitude. That's a period where I'm just really have a lot of gratitude towards what I've accomplished in life, the fact that I can do this every morning and how good it feels, and getting excited to start the day. I wake up pretty early, so it's almost like the city's dead. And again, that's symbolic to me to saying, you know what, you're up before everyone else. You're taking action. Today is going to be a good day. And the new thing that I'm incorporating is from the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Marx, and I prefer the revised version by Dan Kennedy. And what they do in there, it talks about visualizations and stuff like that. So I do a little visualization of kind of positive thinking, of me moving towards building that momentum, of me showing the success that I want to achieve, what I'm going to achieve, and kind of visualizing the things that I'm going to do for the day, for the week, for the month, and spending about 20 to 30 minutes there as I drink my coffee, going, fuck yeah, today is going to be a good day. And so in general, this usually takes about an hour. Set yours up to take about an hour, and then poof, you just want to ramp in to that most productive, effective thing that you need to do at the start of the day. And you want this thing to be the sort of thing where if you could accomplish this, you could spend about an hour on this. The rest of your day, it's like a bonus. You're thinking, man, I did that already today. Everything else, I'll just do some meetings, do some other things. It's no even big deal compared to what I just accomplished here. And this is so important. This is obligatory. This is a must. You must have that hour work. Maybe, like I said, if it's the thing you have to do before work, you got to turn pro at life. I always think it's amazing how people, if they have to show up at work at 9 a.m., they always make sure they're at 9 a.m. But when there's things like writing their book or working on their own company, then all of a sudden you get sloppy and you're not doing these things as rigidly and having that structure there, because all of a sudden you're your own boss and you don't respect your own time compared to just the ramifications of losing your job or some shit like that. Set things up to do this. If you got to wake up an hour earlier, maybe for you, that hour, the most productive thing is going to the gym. And that's great, but don't all of a sudden skip that session because you wake up a little late and you don't want to be late for work or something like that. Make sure this hour session of productivity, you have to do it every single day, because what happens there is you have the most glucose in your brain when you wake up in the morning. All night long, you have these ketone bodies and shit in your brain, and it's turning them into glucose, which you're using in your prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is the willpower, the discipline to work on those really high level, the most strong kind of cognitive effort tasks. You have, the most highly intense thinking tasks. You're gonna be able to do those best at the start of the day. And this is why later in the day, you're thinking, okay, now it's time to get to work, or now it's time to work on my business after I've had a long day of my regular job or something like that. And you're just like, why can't I get to it? And you think it's something about your willpower, or you think it's something about, you just don't feel deserved enough. And no, it's just a strategy. It's just you got to do it at the time that it's going to be the most effectively done, and that's at the start of your day. So like I said, this is a must. You must have this, and you set up your morning ritual symbolically to build that momentum to shoot off into this most important task. Boom, there you have it, the morning ritual. I want you to create yours. Actually, funny enough, this is me in the middle of my morning ritual right now. I had everything going on before this, had the scrambled eggs, had the coffee. Ooh, feels really good having that bulletproof coffee. And this is the most important thing I need to do today. And what I'd like you to do is do the same thing, because next we're gonna go into the strategic habit tracker, and you're gonna be filling in the blanks with your morning routine as the first steps to really building that out, fleshing it out. So before you go on to the next video, I want you to brainstorm, create, and write out a couple different things, 4 to 5 things that are going to last about an hour, and then leading into that hour of, we'll call it the hour of power here, that first most important task for you. And make sure to do this, pause the video, or just don't go on to the next video until you've completed that, and then I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so now that you've written out your morning ritual, we're going to integrate it into the strategic habit tracker. And this is where things get fun. And you might say, fun, this is organizational structure. It's physiologically true that, it is like scientifically proven that we feel good when we achieve things. It's the same reason that, let's say you forget to do something like pick up your dry cleaning. All of a sudden you walk past the dry cleaner and you're thinking, oh yeah, I got to get that. All of a sudden you go get it, you come home, you write, get dry cleaning, and then you cross it off or check it off the list. You're like, why would you do that? I hope everyone's had that experience. And it's because it feels good to achieve things. We're evolutionarily created to be achievers. This is part of who we are, scientifically proven. So let's use it to our advantage to build momentum and achieve more and be more productive. So what I'm going to do here is go to the screenshot. Okay, so let's start integrating your morning ritual into the habit tracker. Starting off 6:30 a.m., we got brush your teeth. 6:35, let's add a lemon water. That's going to take a little time, 5 minutes to brush your teeth. Lemon water, between that, making the scrambled eggs, eating the scrambled eggs, bulletproof coffee, stuff like that. I think that's a good start. It's a pretty basic little morning ritual. And then let's do at 7:30, we'll do a first task. So that's that first big, most important thing that we need to get to. Just kind of ramp up our day. And then all of a sudden it's 8:30 in the morning and whatever you're kind of going on there for the second thing. I think something like this is really all we want to incorporate here to start off your day. Is just something really basic, something small. Start there, and what I want you to do is have a full week of green. So what I mean by green here is that, let's say, today's Monday, all of a sudden, boom. First day, boom. All of a sudden as you're doing these things, I'll go brush my teeth. In between, I'll come over to the computer here, check it off the list. Do the lemon water, make the scrambled eggs, boom. All of a sudden I'm checking 2 things off the list. All I'm doing is an X here. If I want to make it red, I'll do a minus symbol. So let's say I didn't have butter or something related to the coffee. I didn't have time to do it, and then I slammed into my top task. So what you want to do here is you do this consistently, and what I tell guys is you got to do it for a week straight. If you get a full week of green, so if you have this whole week, or even if it's close, like here, what is this? You're about 96%. I love this that we have percentages here now. You can see in general, you're about 96% correct. We'll talk about in a second how your weekends can be kind of different. All of a sudden, then boom, you're into the next week. You can incorporate one more thing. So when I have my chosen 20 guys, my private coaching guys, I'll say, we do about calls every 2 weeks. I'll say, go 2 weeks straight, getting all green. If you do it for the first week, you can add one more thing, but don't add too many things because all of a sudden, if you add more shit, you're just gonna break the system. So I have an example here. I have mine, and you see mine here. It's much longer. It's incorporating more work sessions. It's incorporating other things in between, and I'll explain that in a second here. And so if you add too many things on, you're too likely basically to start missing stuff. And what that does, it just gets you to the point where you're not building good momentum. And so I get it. You're expecting the most of yourself and you want to achieve big things, but you got to start small and building momentum slowly. Because if all of a sudden you start getting reds all up in this shit, you're like, oh man, there's a red there. Oop, let me see. Like, red here, red here, red here. And all of a sudden you have days and days and you're just seeing red shit all over the place. Blah, all of a sudden it's turning yellow and it's saying, man, you fucked up. Your life is not good. Shit like that. You don't feel good about your time. So you want to have consistently greens, 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 greens. And then you can stack on more and more things. And the end goal is where you have, this whole day from morning to day to evening, you have your entire day to where you're checking things off the list. And if you get to that point after a few months of doing this, you're going to be so much more productive. You're going to squeeze so much more time out of your day that, like I said, this last thing here, this could be like 3-5 hours of I'm just going to hang out with my girlfriend. I'm just going to go hang out with friends. I'm going to go head out at night and hit up the clubs. Or I'm just going to read or do all these cool things. You squeeze so much more time and you're, like I said, beyond doubly productive. Doubly productive every month, you're increasing productivity there. But you got to start small and be patient with your success. Too often, like I said, people bite off more than they can chew. The system breaks, and then they're just saying, here's proof again of why I'm never going to be successful. And so you got to build confidence slowly. You got to slowly build things up and get to that point. And so a couple other things that I want to point out is that these sessions, my work sessions here, first work section, what I want you to do is have these be about 45 to 60 minutes, so between 45 minutes and an hour, and it's called a Pomodoro technique. So the Pomodoro, named after some Italian philosopher or something like that, is the fact that our prefrontal cortex, again, we use that glucose, and we can really only last about 45 to 60 minutes, and then all of a sudden our brain is so taxed, we need to take a break. So what I do is I set a specific alarm for a specific time. Now I've been able to push it harder where I can do about 2 hours, and then all of a sudden my brain is going, okay, it's time for a break. Your mind starts wandering, you start thinking about other stuff, or your vision gets a little weird or something like that. So set an alarm specifically for whatever that is, 45 minutes to start. If you can bump it up to an hour, if you can bump it up to 2 hours, and set an alarm, and then have a break in between. And what I do is I fit in all those other things that I want to achieve that I wasn't really getting to, that all of a sudden I can achieve. So as an example, creating a smoothie. I always wanted to have a morning smoothie as my second meal of the day because I'm trying to get a lot more meals, and again, to bump up my calories, to get my bulk on. But I was just never getting to it because I'd work for a bit, and all of a sudden, I'm working again. And I'm thinking, what should I do? So, I incorporated that as one of my breaks. And so you want to have your break be about 15 to 30 minutes there, and that is the break before you go into your next work session. So you see again, then all of a sudden I go into the second section. Another one that's a great one would be meditation. So I do that a lot of times in between, or I'll do that in the afternoon as one of my sessions there. So all of a sudden I'm integrating a meditation session. I'm integrating the smoothie. I'm integrating a lunch, making sure to eat a salad. Other ones, going to the gym in between my work sessions. So I'm incorporating all those things that I want to do that are normally kind of ancillary things that you just never get to. Reading is another great example. Getting another 30 minutes of reading somewhere in there. And as well as paying attention to physiologically, knowing that I can only work so hard for so long, I need these breaks anyways, you can all of a sudden wedge all these things in again to where, like I said, you're fleshing out things in a way that you're so much more productive and checking so many more things off the list. All right, so integrate your morning ritual. Have a few things, 3 to 4 things there so you can check those things off the list, as well as that first Pomodoro that you're going to do, that first big, most important task, and start using this tomorrow. Start checking those things off. Do your morning ritual. Make sure, like I said, the sleep habits thing, knowing what your sleep cycles are and everything like that. And I guarantee if you start doing this tomorrow, you're going to feel very different. You're going to have way more productive day. You're going to be like, oh man, like things feel good. I just feel like I'm kicking ass. That work section, the work session that you're doing there, that one